Okay, I have another movie video. So, oh, it's another series, and we are talking about oh, everyone's favorite at Christmas film, Home Alone. I'm not just talking about the first film. I'm talking about the first four films. Now, in reality, they have six Home Alone movies. But I only know the basics of the first four. The last two, I have never seen. So, I'm only going to talk about the first four. So, let's not waste any time and get into this. So, we're starting with the first one, and it all starts out in the McAllister house. So, the McAllister family, consisting of a few members, which mainly consists of Kate McAllister, Peter McAllister, Jeff, Lenny, Megan, and Buzz, and their youngest son, Kevin, who is the main character of the film. So, the McAllister family is preparing to spend Christmas in Paris, France. Gathering at the McAllister house in the Chicago suburb of Winnetka, Illinois, on the night before their departure. And they have all their relatives over, as they are also joining them in Paris. And Kate and Peter's youngest son, Kevin McAllister, who's played by Macaulay Culkin, is ridiculed by his siblings and cousins due to his immaturity. That makes Kevin McAllister feel like he's the outcast of the family. That night when they order pizza, Kevin specifically wanted a plain cheese pizza, but his mean brother Buzz ate the cheese off his pizza and ruined it for him. And that caused Kevin to ruin the family dinner after he got into a fight with his brother, resulting in Kevin getting into deep trouble and his mom sending him up to the third floor, the attic, where Kevin is to sleep that night. And Kevin berates his mother for allowing the rest of the family to pick on him and wishes that his family would disappear. During that night, heavy winds create a power outage, disabling the alarm clocks and causing the family to oversleep, causing the confusion and for the shuttle drivers out front. In the confusion, and they rush and they get to Chicago O'Hare and they run full freaking throttle through the Terminal 3 hallways of O'Hare. And they get to their plane just on time. But knowing in Kevin's dream of his family disappearing, he got his wish. The family forgot him. And Kevin wakes to find the house empty and the family car still in the garage. And Kevin was unaware that they had rented airport shuttles to take them to the airport. Thinking that his wish has come true, he is overjoyed with his newfound freedom. Later, Kevin becomes frightened by his next door neighbor, Old Man Marley, who is rumored to be a serial killer nicknamed the South Bend Shovel Slayer, who murdered his own family and half the people on his block with a snow shovel. But that's not the only thing for Kevin to be frightened by. The McAllister home is soon stalked by a pair of burglars called the Wet Bandits, Harry and Marv, who have been breaking into other vacant houses in the neighborhood. Kevin tricks them into thinking the family is still home, forcing them to postpone their plans to rob the McAllister house. And Kate realizes mid-flight that Kevin was left behind, and she has a panic attack. Before that, at home, Kevin has been having all the fun he could have that his parents would have never allowed. He went through Buzz's private chats, found an inappropriate magazine, firecrackers, a creepy picture of his girlfriend, and a BB gun that he used for target practice in the kitchen. And he made a caloric ice cream sundae while watching Angels with Filthy Souls. Anyway, after Kate has the panic attack, upon arrival in Paris, the family discovers that all flights for the next 2 days are booked. Nothing to Chicago. And that all the phone lines are still down back home in Chicago. Peter and the rest of the family stay at his brother Rob's apartment in Paris, while Kate stays at the airport. She fails to find a flight to Chicago, but meets Gus Polinski, who is played by John Candy. He's the lead member of a traveling polka band, who offers to let her travel with them to Chicago in a moon van on their way to Milwaukee. On Christmas Eve, Harry and Marv finally realize that only Kevin is in the McAllister home, and Kevin overhears them discussing their plans to break into the house that night. Kevin starts to miss his family and asks the local Santa Claus impersonator if he could bring them back for Christmas. And he goes to church and watches a choir perform. Now, the church that was used in this film was actually two different churches. The exterior was Trinity United Methodist Church in Wilmette, Illinois. And the interior was a totally different church on the other side of Chicago, somewhere near Maywood. I can't remember the name of the church, but I know it was around Maywood, just outside Chicago on the south end. Anyway, he goes to the church and watches a choir perform, eventually re-encountering Old Man Marley, who proves that the rumors about him are false. Marley points out his granddaughter in the choir and mentions he has never met her since she is the daughter of his estranged son. Kevin suggests that Marley should reconcile with his son. Then he leaves, and upon leaving, the church bells ring, and Kevin realizes that 9 o'clock is approaching, as that's when the burglars were saying that they were going to break into the house. So Kevin returns home and rigs the house with some handmade booby traps. Harry and Marv break in, spring the traps, and suffer various injuries. Just to give you an idea of some of the nasty traps that Kevin made. Well, he brought out the BB gun, shot Harry in the nuts, and he shot Marv in the face. Created some slippery staircase. It is putting a nail on a tarred staircase in the basement. Putting his micro machines on the floor, glass ornaments, feathers in front of a fan, and plenty of others. And when they're getting close, Kevin calls the police and lures the duo into a vacant neighboring house that was the Murphy house that they had previously broken into and flooded, as Marv has been leaving the water running in the houses. And Harry and Marv get there first and ambush Kevin and prepare to get their revenge. But Marley intervenes and knocks them out with his snow shovel. The police arrive and arrest the wet bandits. having identified all the houses that they broke into due to their habit of flooding them. Then on Christmas Day, Kevin is initially disappointed to find that his family is still gone, but Kate arrives home and they reconcile. Well, the rest of the family then return after waiting in Paris for a direct flight to Chicago. Kevin keeps silent about his encounter with Harry and Marv, although Peter finds Harry's knocked out gold tooth. Kevin then happily watches Marley reuniting with his son, daughter-in-law, and his granddaughter. So that is the first one. Now it's time for number 2. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Let's get into this. So, we're back with the McAllister family, and it's the same cast as the first one. And this time, they're not going to Paris. They are going to Miami, Florida. Again, they gather at the McAllister house in Winnetka. And again, Kevin, who is 10 years old. 10 years old. Yeah, 10 years old. Is in the first one, he was 8 years old. Now he's 10. So he's viewing Florida, and he's not so happy because he knows Florida doesn't have Christmas trees, and it's a tropical climate. And Kevin's going to be in a school Christmas pageant in their choir along with Jeff and Buzz. And during Kevin's solo of singing, his older brother embarrasses Kevin. And Kevin doesn't notice that at first, but he soon realizes what has been going on. And Kevin retaliates by pushing Buzz, causing the choir to collapse. At home, Buzz makes a false apology to Kevin, which the family accepts, but Kevin refuses, knowing that that apology was complete bullcrap. And Kevin refuses to apologize for his actions and berates the family for believing Buzz's lies and for wanting to spend Christmas in Florida. And he storms off to the 3rd floor without anyone telling him to go up there. Again, wishing that he has his own vacation alone. Again, the family oversleeps. This time, no power outage. So they oversleep and they get it to the shuttles, and just like the last film, they run full freaking throttle through Terminal 3 at Chicago O'Hare. And Kevin goes with them this time, thankfully, but he becomes separated once again while carrying Peter's bag and accidentally boards a flight to New York City. Upon arrival, he decides to tour the city and encounters a homeless woman tending to pigeons in Central Park, who completely scares him off. And Kevin, realizing he has his dad's credit card, checks into the Plaza Hotel, one of New York's most expensive hotels in all of New York. Not knowing that his old rivals, the Wet Bandits, Harry and Marv, now renamed the Sticky Bandits due to Marv's sticky gloves, has also reached the city after escaping from prison during a riot. On Christmas Eve, Kevin visits a toy store whose kindly owner, Mr. Duncan, plans to donate the day's sales proceeds to a children's hospital. After Kevin makes a donation, Mr. Duncan gives him a pair of ceramic turtle doves in thanks, instructing him to give one to another person as a gesture of eternal friendship. And Kevin encounters Harry and Marv upon leaving the store and flees back to the plaza. The concierge at the hotel, who is completely suspicious of Kevin being there, knowing that he really doesn't have his parents with him, he confronts Kevin about the use of his dad's credit card, now reported as stolen. Kevin flees the hotel after tricking the staff with angels with filthy souls. With Kevin's genius remote skills, he scares them out of the room, and Kevin flees never to come back until the end. As Kevin flees the hotel, he's caught by Harry and Marv again and taken hostage. Marv mentions his and Harry's plans to rob the toy store before Kevin escapes in an encounter with a female passerby who Marv had encountered just a while ago, as he got his sticky gloves stuck on her purse. And she immediately recognizes him and slugs both Harry and Marv. Earlier, upon landing in Miami, the McAllister family discover that Kevin is missing and file a police report with the airport security. After the police trace Peter's credit card, the family immediately flies to New York, as they are honestly tired of being stuck in a rainy Miami in a motel room watching It's a Wonderful Life. So they fly to New York. Meanwhile, Kevin goes to his Uncle Rob's townhouse only to find it vacant and undergoing a renovation in Central Park. Kevin encounters and eventually befriends the pigeon lady, who takes him to Carnegie Hall to watch this orchestra. She explains how her life collapsed when her lover left her, and Kevin encourages her to trust people again. After considering her advice that he perform a good deed to make up for his misdeeds, and recalling Mr. Duncan's intent to donate to the hospital, he decides to prevent the toy store robbery. And Kevin runs down onto the townhouse, and just like the first film, he creates some traps, which consisted of throwing bricks from the roof, a blowtorch, a big hole in the floor, an electric sink, a rope soaked in kerosene, and plenty of others. So, after he creates the traps, he heads down to the toy store. He catches Harry and Marv in the act of robbing the store, and he breaks its front windows to set off the alarm. After taking their picture, he lures them to the townhouse, where they repeatedly injure themselves in the traps. And Kevin evades them, calls the police from a payphone, and flees towards Central Park. Then Harry and Marv catch him after Kevin accidentally slips on the ice, and he prepares to shoot him. But the pigeon lady throws a bucket of birdseed onto them, attracting a massive flock of pigeons, and incapacitating them until the police arrive and arrest them once again. And Kevin slips away, leaving photographic and tape-recorded evidence against Harry and Marv. And Mr. Duncan recovers the donation money and finds a note from Kevin explaining the broken window. The McAllisters arrive in New York, and Kate, remembering Kevin's fondness of Christmas trees, finds him making a wish at the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. On Christmas morning, a truckload of free gifts arrive at the McAllisters' hotel room, sent from a grateful Mr. Duncan for foiling the robbery. Kevin reconciles with his family and gives one of his turtle doves to the pigeon lady, cementing their friendship. But then the McAllister family gets the room service bill and realize that Kevin paid $967 on room service. That was a huge mistake. Okay, and now we get to the third one. And this one's a little different, and I will explain it. One, a different cast. So this starts out in who work for a terrorist organization, and 4 are spies who are trying to get back at this $10 million missile clocking microchip, which they steal it and hide it inside a remote controlled toy car. So they work for this Hong Kong-based terrorist organization in Silicon Valley, California. So they put it in the toy car basically to get it past security at San Francisco International Airport. However, a luggage mix-up causes a Chicago-bound elderly passenger named Mrs. Hess to inadvertently take the thieves back containing the car. The thieves arrive in Chicago when they find out that's where she's going. They follow suit and go to Chicago on the same flight. And they spot the bag and they go along with it. They search every house in the suburb neighborhood where Miss Hess lives to find the chip. Meanwhile, 8-year-old Alex Pruitt, who's played by Alex D. Lenz, is given the remote-controlled car by Hess as payment for shoveling her driveway. He returns home being a itchy mess, and he soon realizes he has chicken pox. He must stay home from school. The next day, Alex discovers the thieves while spying on his neighbors and involves the police, but they are unable to help. Alex attaches a camera to the remote control car and uses it to spy on him, as it's clear that he called the police twice and they couldn't find the thieves, so they assumed he was doing false alarms. After the second time, he got in trouble and decided that was never going to work. So he decided to attach a camera to that car to try and spy on them, leading to the thieves chasing it when they spot it. Wondering what they want with the toy car, Alex opens it and discovers the stolen chip. That's when he calls the local U.S. Air Force recruitment center about the discovery and asks if they could forward the information about the chip to the right authorities. Then the thieves finally realize that Alex has been watching them and decide to break into the Pruitt's house. Alex rigs the house with some nasty traps from a lawn or falling down on one of their heads. Some sticky goo, a mouse trap, or I think it was a rat trap. Black spray, electric fence, electric chair, and plenty of others. He gets help from his pet rat Doris and his brother Stan's loudmouth parrot. Then the thieves break in, spring the traps, and they suffer some awful injuries. With the court getting through these traps, they still pursue Alex around the house. He flees and rescues Mrs. Hess, who's been duct taped to a chair in her garage by a Alice Ribbons. And then Peter Beaupre, the main villain, ambushes Alex, but the latter uses a bubble gun resembling a Glock to scare him off. Then the FBI agents and police later arrive and arrest the villains. They start off with the other three. However, Peter Beaupre is soon found after the parrot discovers him and threatens to light fireworks. As Beaupre has been hanging out in an ice igloo. And he lights the fireworks, and he is busted. So with them arrested, Alex is unharmed, and his family apologizes for not believing him in the first place. That evening, the Pruitts, Ms. Hess, and the authorities hold a celebration for Alex as the Pruitt house is being repaired. With Alex's father, Jack, returning home from a business trip, at the police department, the thieves are shown to have contracted Alex's chickenpox during their mugshots. And that's the third one. We have one more. So this is Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House. So this is an interesting one. So this one on Peter McAllister. I should mention we've got a different McAllister cast this time. So Peter McAllister, who is finalizing a divorce from his wife Kate, announces to their children Buzz, Megan, and Kevin that he and his wealthy girlfriend Natalie are hosting the visit of a royal family at her mansion, and invites them to spend Christmas there. After the three intentionally refuse, Kevin accepts after being bullied by Buzz, revels in the mansion's luxuries. Now, I've seen this plenty of times, and Natalie's mansion is straight up North Side material. Like, it is one of the biggest houses I've ever seen in movie history. So he goes there, and Natalie and Peter give Kevin the grand tour. And they also tell him that the house is actually a smart house. And they have these special house keys that you speak a request into it, and it will do as you say. For example, you speak it into it, and you say you want on a door to open. You say, "Door open," and the door that you're in front of when you say it will automatically open without you touching it. The next morning, Peter and Natalie go out while Kevin stays with Natalie's servants, Mr. Prescott, the butler, and Molly, the maid. Kevin notices his old nemesis, Marv, and his wife, Vera, scouting the house. After failing to get Mr. Prescott's attention via the intercom, he drives them away by flooding the mansion, using Kevin's insane shower. When Peter and Natalie return, they refuse to believe Kevin's explanation about the burglars, especially since Mr. Prescott claims that he has seen nothing, when really he was sleeping in his private section of the house. Kevin discovers that the security cameras were turned off during the break-in, as it's clear that Marv also had a house key, and he turned off the alarm, leading him to believe that Mr. Prescott is in league with Marv and Vera to cheer themselves up. Evan, Peter, and Natalie decorate their Christmas tree, although it is later retrimmed by professional decorators at Natalie's request. That was her fault. She forgot to cancel. As the mansion is prepared for a party for the royal family's arrival, Peter and Natalie go to pick them up when Kevin notices Marv and Vera disguised as caterers. He traps Mr. Prescott in the freezer, overhears Marv and Vera's plan to kidnap the prince for ransom, and forces them out of a window. The royal family is unable to attend the party because their flight got canceled. So Peter and Natalie decide to announce their engagement instead. Marv and Vera run back into the house and pursue Kevin, who accidentally ruins the party by running into the guests and knocking over an ice sculpture that turns out to be a frozen Mr. Prescott. Angered, Peter sends Kevin into his room, refusing to believe his story and accusing him of trying to sabotage his relationship with Natalie, who threatens to evict him if he misbehaves again. Taking matters into his own hands, Kevin sets up the booby traps for Marv and Vera. The next morning, the duo head to the house after Peter and Natalie go to pick up the royals. And Kevin locks Mr. Prescott in the basement, which was really a wine cellar, but eventually discovers that Marv and Vera's real ally is Molly, who is also Marv's mother. Kevin then gets locked in the basement with Mr. Prescott, who admits that he turned off the cameras during the initial break as he was taking an unscheduled break from his duties because he despises working for Natalie. And he and Kevin then apologize for misjudging each other. After several failed attempts to call Kate, Kevin escapes via the house's dumbwaiter and temporarily traps Marv underneath it. Marv and Vera then pursue Kevin through the house, where they spring the traps and suffer the various injuries that Kevin gave them, which consisted of a falling dresser, a big sauce pot knocking them in the face, falling from a chandelier, Kevin's toy plane knocking Marv in the nutsack, and Prescott saving the day by hitting Molly in the head with a tray. And at the airport, Peter suspects that something is wrong back at the house and takes a cab back to Natalie while Natalie picks up the royals. And Kate, Buzz, and Megan also drive to the mansion due to the suspicious nature of the calls made by Kevin and Molly. Kevin uses an altered recording of Marv's voice to provoke an argument between him and Vera, and knocks them into down a flight of stairs with a remote-controlled plane. The duo is then tricked by Kevin, and with a secret wall switch, showing either a bar or a bookshelf. All I have to say is "Open Sesame," and it changes. It ends up being launched into a chandelier, as Kevin kept making that thing spin faster and faster. And they fall into the chandelier and are knocked unconscious by their fall. Molly, having escaped, grabs Kevin, but is quickly knocked out by Mr. Prescott, who also escaped via the dumbwaiter, and he calls the police. As Peter, Kate, Buzz, and Megan arrive, Kevin, and with Buzz and Megan's help, prevents a final escape attempt from Marvin Vera. The royal family and Natalie arrive, as well as the police, and the offender's plot to kidnap the prince is revealed to Natalie's shock. Mr. Prescott, per Kevin's advice, resigns from his position and as her butler, realizing that their relationship was built on invitation rather than love, and was affecting his responsibilities as a husband and father. And Peter breaks up with Natalie and reconciles with Kate and their children. Grateful to Kevin and his for his foiling of the kidnapping plot, the royals spend Christmas with the newly reunited McAllisters, devastating Natalie. And there you have it. And that is the 4 Home Alone films that I at least know about. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that.